Hello everyone, my name is Aaron Woodman, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to talk about an earthquake that occurred in San Francisco and how the city handled the Chinese people there after it occurred. This is important for understanding how immigrants were treated when another type of crisis occurred in the country, as well as a moment where the Chinese people stood up against an effort by the city administration to tear down their community. Let's go over this. An earthquake occurred in San Francisco on April 18, 1906, where death and destruction left the city in ruins. Families whose homes were destroyed piled their belongings in the street, and express wagons and automobiles hauled the things away to sparsely settled regions. After darkness, thousands of the homeless tried to make their way with their blankets and sea-can provisions to Golden Gate Park and the beach to find shelter. But even worse than the damage from the earthquake were the fires that raged for 4 days afterward. The mains had been destroyed with the tremors, so firemen could not fight the fires that were ignited by broken gas lines. To halt the spread of the flames, they set off dynamic charges in buildings at the perimeter of the blaze to create fire breaks. It was a disastrous decision. The resulting inferno left 80% of San Francisco, then the nation's ninth largest city and the largest in the West, in ruins. 28,000 buildings were leveled or burned out. As many as 3/4 of the city's 400,000 residents were left homeless, and 3,000 people died. The newspaper predicted the worst. Quote, "Everybody in San Francisco is prepared to leave the city, for the belief is firm that San Francisco will be totally destroyed," unquote. But the newspapers were wrong. As quickly as the damage had been done, repairs and rebuilding were initiated. 300 plumbers were repairing water lines within days, and millions of brick and other rubble were cleared, much of it dumped into the bay. So how did the city administration respond? Mayor Schmitz called in the army and issued a shoot-to-kill order to discourage looting. Instead of just rebuilding the old city, San Francisco decided to build a new, modern city on the wreckage of what had been a hastily thrown together boomtown. Some neighborhoods would be born, others would disappear. The mayor thought, quote, "Prime real estate should not be wasted on Chinese people. Do you know how much this land is worth? It's perfectly situated with wonderful views and a natural windbreak," unquote. Before the earthquake, Chinatown had stuffed 14,000 residents into 22 square blocks of rickety slums, brothels, and opium dens. Its wooden buildings had been perfect fuel for the firestorm, and almost every building burned to the ground. The mayor said, quote, which will save us a lot of money in demolition. And remember, just about everyone wanted Chinatown gone. Just look at the newspaper. Let us have no more Chinatowns in our cities. Never let it be said, "I don't know my civic duty," unquote. This reveals how the mayor wanted to use this disaster as an opportunity to push Chinese people out of the city by constructing new buildings in the spaces where Chinese people were at. But even Abe Rueff was aware that the Chinese had to live somewhere, such as mud flats and swamp, where the mayor thought it was no worse than where they lived. This was based on Schmitz's and Rueff's perceptions about the Chinese people. But the Chinese had no intention of being muscled out of their neighborhood. They began a campaign to stay in Chinatown. They thought, quote, "White people think we are a bunch of unlettered, unskilled laborers. They are in for a surprise. We told them they must do 3 things immediately. First, hire first-rate white lawyers as soon as possible. Second, anyone who owned their property should begin rebuilding immediately. According to law, owners do not need permits. Third, anyone who rents should meet their landlords and renew their lease. The landlords will ask for exorbitant rents. They always do with the Chinese. But if we pay more than they get from anyone else, they'll do it," unquote. Those 3 directions were acted on immediately. Other steps were taken as well. They said, quote, "Gentlemen, our problem is your problem. San Franciscans may not be fond of Chinatown, but tourists are, and they are a principal source of revenue for all of you here. In addition, China is an increasingly attractive market for American goods, from which some of you make a tidy profit," unquote. A new Chinatown was proposed where it would feature exotic, authentic Chinese architecture, at least what white visitors would see as authentic. They would continue to attract tourists and help boost all the city's businesses. As much as it pains Rueff to admit it, there wasn't anything he could do if his aides were backing this plan. So Chinatown was rebuilt with this concept. But Rueff was going to have a lot more to worry about than losing money in a land deal. An investigation would be developed on Rueff. Francis J. Henney and William J. Burns would take charge of the investigation in Rueff, and they were indeed as tough as they came. Henney was a federal district attorney who had been threatened and even shot, but refused to give up an investigation. Burns, who would later become known as America's Sherlock Holmes and founded the Burns Detective Agency, was brilliant, fearless, and incorruptible. In their investigation, they found a few things. Quote, "It's what our bosses have been looking for. Schmitz will share kickbacks with the cops on every ounce of whiskey sold to San Francisco saloons. The saloons have to renew their liquor licenses every 3 months. If they don't pay, no license. And look who the lawyer for the distributor is, Abe Rueff. And he gets paid a bag full of money every month," unquote. When word of the discovery got out, Mayor Schmitz leaped into action by going to Europe. Rueff responded with, quote, "Damn quitter, we've been through worse. Actually, we haven't. But this will blow over like everything else. The only thing that makes me mad is I've got to scooch the Chinatown plans and leave those Chinese people in their neighborhood. Of course, I can't be seen as having lost to the Chinese people. Some union people are already questioning whether I'll survive. I've got to find a distraction, something that will reassure my people that they'll do well if I'm running the city and badly if I'm not. And I've got just the tickets," unquote. In this case, he would try to get everyone to focus on the Japanese and get people to believe they are a problem for the city. We will talk more about this in the next video. But here's the takeaway from all of this. This was a major instance by the Chinese people in San Francisco of them defending their community from getting destroyed by the rebuilding efforts. The Chinese people saw the mayor's rebuilding efforts as an attempt to erase Chinese culture in the city, and they worked together to stand up against the mayor. Because of their resilience, Chinatown was rebuilt in a form that both preserved their presence and catered to San Francisco's economic interests. Not only that, but the investigation into the city's political leadership threatened Rueff's power. With the growing scrutiny, he would find a way to redirect the public attention away from him. After all, it looked like he did not like getting investigated and letting the Chinese people keep Chinatown, so he wanted to find something else he could take control of to show he is still politically powerful. Still, the rebuilding of San Francisco demonstrated not just physical recovery, but a struggle over who belonged in the city and who had the power to decide. In this case, the Chinese people made it clear they still belonged in the city and they did not want to be excluded from it because a crisis like the earthquake occurred. In the next video, we will talk about the gentleman's agreement with Japan. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and turn on the post notifications so you will be notified when I post my next video. I appreciate your support. Remember, you are powerful, you are capable, and you are the changemaker our society needs. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you soon.